Hey, in this video we're going to talk about OneLake Security in Microsoft Fabric. As you all know, if you're building a data platform, you might be aware that security is kind of important, right? You don't want all of your organization's data to be out in the open. And in order to properly secure your data while allowing the correct users to access your data, we can put in all kinds of security measures and access measures into Microsoft Fabric and Power BI. Now, you might be aware of some of the concepts around security in Microsoft Fabric, but what I really want to dive into is the preview of OneLake Security, and in particular the column level security and row level security for Fabric lakehouses. But first, let's start with an overview of the security concepts within Microsoft Fabric. Of course, if you want to give access to a user, they need to have an organizational account within your Microsoft Entra ID tenant. And then you can assign user access rights to that tenant in order for them to be able to log into the Fabric or Power BI portal. And if you then want to give them access to certain areas or workspaces within Fabric, you can do so through workspace management, where they can be a viewer, a member, a contributor, or an admin on a workspace, meaning they get access to the objects in that workspace with different levels of security. They can see the items in the workspace, or maybe they can edit items in the workspace, and so on. The video will not be about how to set up the appropriate workspace access, but this is where it all starts, where you actually give your users access to the objects within Microsoft Fabric and Power BI, right? Then going one step further, maybe you've created Power BI content, you've created some very nice reports that you want to share. What you then want to do, what is the advised route to take, is that you will go into something called the app. You will publish an app from your Power BI workspace, and then you will share that app with your users. And you can even share the app with several audiences, which allows you to basically mix and match or pick your content that you want to share with a certain audience. Maybe you would have an audience that can see all of the reports inside of an app. Maybe you have an audience in the same app that can see a subset of those reports, right? And the audiences in the app work like user groups, basically. So you can group users that have the same kind of rights, and you will give them access to the same audience. They will see the same objects. Now, mind you, this is still not securing the actual data within Fabric or within Power BI. This is still giving access to Fabric or Power BI, right? And it is advisable that you do not do this for individual users. No, rather you would use Entra ID security groups in order to give out access. That would be the advised route to take here. So whether you're giving users access to workspaces to work on stuff within Fabric and Power BI, or you give users access to apps and audiences, you want to use Entra ID groups. So that is a very high level overview of how you can actually let someone log in to your Fabric or Power BI stuff. Now, if you want to secure the actual data that people are seeing within a report or within a data set, we might need to do a little bit more than just giving access to that report or data set or app or audience, right? We want to show the user the appropriate rows in a data set. So if I'm a sales rep responsible for region North, I only see orders that are placed by customers in the region North. But I don't want to have my sales force looking all at their own reports that are pre-filtered. That would be very hard to build and maintain. So I want to use something like row level security in Power BI semantic models. And this is a feature that existed for years and years already. It is a very nice feature, and we use it all the time in order to properly secure access to data sets. Alright, so then when you have one user logging into the report, they will see their data. You have another user logging into the same report, and they will see their data. But maybe if their manager is logging into the report, they will see all data in that report. Alright, so those are things that we can create using Power BI semantic models and row level security. The problem is, however, if we are reading data into our semantic model from a Fabric lakehouse, and we only give users access to that semantic model, we can use Power BI row level security or RLS in order to create the security setup there. What if we want to have our users create their own semantic models? Then we need to give them access to the lakehouse, and if we give them access to the lakehouse, they can bypass the security or the RLS that is set up in the semantic model, right? So there's a way for them to access all of the data, and maybe it's some of the data they are not allowed to see. So how can we actually secure rows in a Fabric Lakehouse Delta table? This is something that is not generally available at this moment. However, we can use the preview function of OneLake Security. OneLake Security allows us to have a user access our lakehouses, but we can define what access they get. So we can show them subsets of the lakehouse. We can show them, for example, just a single table or a few tables in that lakehouse, or we can give access to an entire schema tables in the lakehouse, but not to other schemas and other tables. And now with the preview, we can even use column level security and row level security inside tables in that lakehouse, and that is what we're going to look at in this video today. So let's dive into my laptop and see the demo. All right, we're looking at Power BI and Fabric Portal here on my screen, and what we're looking at is my That Fabric Guy demo workspace. Now, before we can actually start implementing OneLake Security RLS roles, we need to create a lakehouse that is schema enabled. The schemas are still in preview, however, they are quite good at the moment. I think they're pretty safe to use at this time. Use them at your own risk, of course. Don't be calling me saying that your stuff is broken because you're using preview features and I told you so. I will tell you so. This is a preview feature and it is at your own risk. However, we do need a lakehouse. We can do that right here, and we call that lakehouse OneLake Security because that's the demo that we're going to do today. And we will enable this checkbox for lakehouse schemas. It is in preview, as you can see here. And Fabric is now creating our lakehouse for us and opening that lakehouse. I did not want to do that. I wanted to load my demo data. I created a notebook for this demo data. And I need to add our existing lakehouse here, OneLake Security, that's the one. Let's connect and make this one our default and then remove this one. And now we can start loading our demo data. And now I've created a few different tables and schemas in order to actually showcase the different setups that we can go through when giving our users access to Fabric lakehouses. So let's create the users table first, and then we will create the companies table, and we will create a schema. This cell is frozen. Let's unfreeze and run, and let's run this one as well. And here we can then find that we actually have loaded those tables. In the default schema DBO, we have companies and users. In the master data schema, we have a products table, and they all contain just an ID and a name with some dummy data, but that's enough for now. Alright, so now that we have our table set up, we can actually start implementing the security in OneLake Security. So we can go back to our lakehouse and we will find Manage OneLake Data Access Preview right here. We can click that and it will turn on the preview to OneLake Security. We can continue, and it created a default reader role for us. We can click on the three little dots here and click on Edit, and it will show us that the people in this role, which is me at this moment, have access to all the objects in the lakehouse. So this role is something like a catch-all. It allows us to read everything, which doesn't make sense in my case, because I want to demo using another user and using limited access only. All right. So let's create a new role. Let's call this OneLake Security Demo. And instead of saying adding all data to my role, I want to add selected data to the role. I can click on Browse Lakehouse, and I will then be able to select certain pieces of my lakehouse in order to secure access. So maybe for this part of the demo, I want to give access to the DBO schema or to a single table. Let's do just a DBO schema. I will add members to the role, and I added a user for my for testing purposes here, which is called Bosland Customer Test, and this user is now a member of the role. Let's double check. This is my regular account. Yep, that's my regular account. Let's create the role right here. Alright, it's now created. We can go to my other user and then let's validate that I'm actually logged into that correct user. Yes, I am. We can go to the demo workspace. We can go to OneLake. We're going to look at the OneLake Security Lakehouse that we see right here. And from here we can now refresh the tables, and we see that we only get the DBO schema, right? Files is giving me an error. It can't load subfolders because it did not give this user access to files. Alright. But as we can see here, we now can browse the tables that are in the DBO schema. So we have Apple, Dell, Microsoft for our customers. And we have a bunch of users, John Doe, Jane Doe, and that fabric guy. All right, so let's get back into my other account and let's change the role by clicking on edit. Let's try to remove the DBO access and start giving someone access to just a single table, right? We cannot remove an access rule that is the last one or the only one in a role, okay? So we need to add data. We can go into tables and we can say, okay, you can only see the products table right now. It will be added here, and now we should be able to remove the DBO schema access. The role is automatically saved. We can go into my other screen, and I think, if I am correct, this should now only show me the master data products table, right? I do get an access here, can't load columns. This is probably due to some metadata syncing, couldn't load column details, however I am able to browse both the ID and name column. This might be due to the fact that OneLake Security is still in preview and there are still a few things that have to be worked out. Anyway, we have now proven that we can easily allow users to access a subset of tables or schemas within our lakehouse. Let's dive into what row level security and column level security can do. Let's fix that by simply deleting the role, creating a new role, new demo, do select data, all tables. We add my test account again, and luckily this is all going pretty fast. Now, mind you, if I am going to create row level security, I cannot do that from here. All right, I need to create a role first. Then I need to go here and edit a role. Then I need to go into a certain table, let's say the companies table. And there I can then define the row security and column security of that table. So let's go into companies and start doing row level security. And row level security is defined by creating a SQL statement with a where clause. So you filter the output of the table basically. Now if I start typing, it will automatically pre-fill this, so that's actually pretty easy to do. And let's assume that we only are allowed to see records from the companies table where the ID is equal to or smaller than 2. That should give us just 2 records instead of 3 records, but that will prove that we have applied row level security to this table. Okay, now to show that we actually have access to all the tables but only to a subset of the rows in the companies table, we go back into the lakehouse. And this was quite fast. Let's refresh. Yeah, we do have access to all the tables now, and we can see that we have only rows 1 and 2 for Microsoft and Apple in our lakehouse table, in our companies table. So that's actually quite cool. This seems to be working. It also allows me to see what columns are in here, so that's actually pretty cool. Now let's go back and see how we can configure our column level security. I will remove this role for now. Let's go create a new one, say CLS demo. I am allowed to browse only the master data products table, and that is shared with my username. And remember, don't share like this with individual users in production. Do not do this, use Enter ID groups, right? And do not forget to save with this green button here. That will not work. Alright, so we now created the role. We go here into the CLS demo, we edit the role. We go into the master data schema, we see the products table, we click here and we go to column security. Alright, there is no rules in here and we have to grant security to that table by using CLS. We need to enable CLS first, and from here we can select and remove columns from our view. Let's remove the ID column. I only want the user to see the name column in this table. And I need to hit the save button. Do not forget to hit save. It will not work otherwise. Alright, let's go into the other user and see what is happening now in the table. So when we go here, let's refresh the view because we have changed the access to the tables now, and we can actually see that the DBO schema is disappeared. So our role is working. We have access to only the master data schema with the products table. Now if we open the table, let's see what's going on. Okay, we get an error. We see that the preview is unable to load, and it will say the requested lakehouse operation failed. A retry of the operation may help. I don't think actually retrying may help. Let's see if we can show the columns that are in our table, and we see that the ID column is indeed hidden from view. However, I want to see what's going to happen if we start querying the table, and let's go into the analytical endpoints. From here, new SQL query, and let's say select star from master data.products, and we get an error. So select star actually means select all the columns. You might be aware of that. And I think underwater the ID column is still found, and then it is translated into select ID, name, and then it shows us that the ID column cannot be queried. So this gives us an error saying select permission was denied on the ID column of the table. Now if we go here in the preview, sorry, we need to do that here. Refresh. Why can we refresh this? Okay, we are apparently not able to refresh this view. Anyway, it is still showing me the ID column here from the SQL Analytics endpoint. Now, if I were to just select the name out of the table, we get the name here. So mind you, for different client applications, the Lakehouse browser, the SQL queries in your analytics endpoint, maybe notebooks, maybe Power BI, there might be a different behavior in how column level security works. Now, in practice, with most of our clients, we don't see CLS or column level security that needs to be implemented. So while I'm a bit worried that this is not really a very nice user experience with all the errors and the different behaviors in different client tools, I'm not that worried that we run into these issues that often. Row level security, on the other hand, seem to work really well, and this will definitely be a functionality that we will be implementing very soon for our customers. Alright, so now you've learned all about OneLake Security within Microsoft Fabric Lakehouses. We've seen that we can not only secure access to workspaces and apps and audiences, but we can also secure access to the actual data inside of a Microsoft Fabric Lakehouse by using access roles to give users access to individual schemas or tables, and even to individual rows and columns. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because every week there will be more and more videos. See you next time.